Hey everybody. I'm gonna start talking here in just a second, but let me have a sip of my drink. I have not done one of these kind of videos in a freaking long time. For any of those of you who followed me for years, you should know that this is coming out. I named it Shaman Ramblings because I used to. For those of you who followed me for many of years, you got used to seeing me like driving down the road and getting the download and just pull over on the side of the street and start talking, or pull over on the side of the street, but it wasn't a good place, so run off to like a park and start talking and just start doing what I'm about to do right now. And this has a lot to do with vibrational sludge. Okay, vibrational sludge, DNA upgrade in your blueprint, and the fact that I've got to do something that's uncomfortable for me, but that's part of where I have to go, I guess, as a shaman for my own growth. And I haven't done these videos in a while, and I'm not doing this one live because I really cannot see the comments. Or I will really probably break down more than I should and get off track. So I'm doing this one like this. But part of my growth is coming off some of my pride, but it's because I know I have a lot of followers and clients and stuff, and you all need to see the shaman break down just as much as allowing yourself to break down and understanding that's good. Because for one, I mean, you don't. I'm constantly talking about going to don't go to decoys, and people who just want to give you a reading and can read between the lines, but really don't have the heart in it, really aren't after the true soul mission and truly trying to get into that soul growth and everything that we can and are, and rediscover that and all of that. And a lot of this, like I said, has to do with where we're at astrologically, soulfully, spiritually, and where we have problems getting over the hump. And I'm saying it's vibrational sludge versus DNA makeup and blueprint and our organs and our chakras. And we've been doing shadow work so freaking long, it's ridiculous. But now we're getting to truth, and we're getting to the crud we don't want to face, or we're afraid to face, because we have to admit who we are. And the only way to heal, I've said a million times, and people ask me this always when I say you have to do the hard work. And they're like, well, what's the hard work? I don't understand. And we start to really step into the epiphany of the consciousness and come all the way around. The hard work is facing yourself, is facing all your inadequacies, everything that you don't like, everything that you are afraid of, and staring that bitch down until you're not like this anymore, until you've accepted it, and not accepted the bad parts of yourself, but love those bad parts. Because you're never going to find inner peace if you can't see the darkest, most screwed up sludge that's within. that should have never been there. And what I mean by that is we weren't created to be low vibrational. We weren't created to put ourselves repeatedly through so much trauma. We weren't put here to suffer. But this world, this three-dimensional world, and the way we're part of that hive mind and learning to break away from that, you're not going to break away from that until you break away, until it doesn't hurt anymore to see it, deal with it, accept it, love it. I've said a couple times, and some people are going to get pissed off. I don't care. You can look at it as the creator, you can see it as God, you can see it as the consciousness, and for lack of better words, and don't hold nothing against me until you hear me through. I've said, in a form, it's kind of like an absentee father, but it's not at all. But in the three-dimensional realm, it may feel like it. I mean, like, we pray to God, we ask, we search for the higher consciousness. But the consciousness wants to know, wants to explore, wants to, well, isn't that just interesting how that shit just happened? It's gonna love unconditionally, no matter what the fuck happens. And it gives you the right, like I've said a million times, it gives you the right to love yourself, to high vibrational, low vibrational, whatever you want. Even if you don't know what you want, and even if you don't know how you are acting within your own body and your own vibration and how you're creating all of that, it will love you even if you create crap. It will love you if you create the best life ever. It gives you the opportunity. Here's the rope. You can climb the tree or hang yourself. And in a form that feels a little bit like an absentee father, like you're praying, I want help. But he gives you that God consciousness. Well, help yourself. And when we start to come into that, and we start to realize the crud that we keep inside, most of you who follow me for any amount of time, like I said, I used to pull over on the side of the street and get this overwhelmed or this download and be like, that's it, I gotta stop and talk. But I don't drive anymore. I used to drive an hour to work, and that was my me time. And that's when the downloads would happen. It would come crystal clear. And I have a harder time getting it at crystal clear now because a lot of you know I take care of my mom with dementia, and I'm not blaming her. She's almost 80. The dementia literally is about her memory is about 3 seconds long anymore. And then she has the heart problems. Now, this past week, last week, I came out and finally had to be like, yo, I need help. And it's important for me to come off, I don't want to say my own high horse, but I guess my pride. And for any of you who know your signs or whatever, I'm a Leo. Leos don't ask for help. We could be drowning at sea and we'll drown because we ain't asking for help. It's a pride problem. We don't necessarily like it. It's just the way it is. And this part is part of my lesson because I'm being told for where we're at, for what we have to do to get rid of this vibrational sludge shit. We have to really face some of this funk. But before I get into my funk, I used to have it somewhere and I can't find it. I used to have two little bottles like this. This is an essential oil bottle. But when we think of our human body, we think of, the soul being in the body, blah, blah, blah. But we think of it being a vessel. Excuse me. We think of it being a vessel. So I'm going to give you this idea. Here's your vessel. And you can see it as essential oil, but really what I used to use is water. Here's your vessel, your light body, your crystalline self, however you want to see it. This is what it should be before they messed with us and changed and altered us. This is what it should be. But we all know they give us crappy ass food. We're also addicted to the crappy ass food. There's bad stuff in the food. There's bad stuff in the water. There's bad stuff here. There's bad stuff there. And in order for us to truly DNA upgrade closer to the body we should have, we got to get rid of the sludge. But let me help you get it. I mean, it's not just the food we put in our body, but understanding that in order for us to get closer to that body, it has to do with the food, it has to do with the water, it has to do with whatever you're drinking, it has to do with your thoughts, it has to do with your emotions, it has to do with your actions, it has to do with your organs, the blueprint. And the more bad food we put in us that's not light, understand there's a reason why in Egyptian mythology you're told in that mythology that when you would die and you're in between worlds, they would weigh your heart against a feather. Because if your heart was heavier than the feather, you didn't get to go to Egyptian heaven, so to speak. I don't remember the right terms. But that idea is the same. You're not going to get into that crystalline body, that light body. You're not going to get back to where we're trying to take ourselves if it's full of funk. It's just like weighing the heart against the feather. It's too dense. It's too heavy. We've got to lose weight, so to speak. But I don't mean weight just in the size of 160 pounds, 90 pounds, 50 pounds, 20 pounds. I mean emotional weight, emotional baggage, mind thinking baggage, connected to hive mind baggage. It's just like I've said a million times, in the movie The Matrix, when they're teaching Neo how to fight. And Morpheus says to him, "Do you think that's air you're breathing? No, we're in a program." Understanding we don't have to think that way. Breaking that kind of thinking all brings us back to this. We're still far from this. We're getting a lot closer and a lot better, but we're still far from this. The emotional baggage that you're holding on to, the trauma that you're holding on to, the shame that you're holding on to, the fear that you're holding on to, that you don't even realize that you're holding on to because we haven't gotten to the root. Nothing is ever healed until you get to the root and you pull it out of the ground. Just like a tree. You can cut the tree short, but it will eventually grow back. Even if you just cut it to a stump. And the only way to make the tree stop grounding is to snap the root out. And the only way to get to the root is to dig inside to find out where the illness is, what is causing it, what is the thinking is. Our bodies are more like this. This is one of the essential oils that I make, and I haven't refilled it. It's one of mine. But like I said, I used to have two of these, and one was filled with crystals, dirt, sand, mud. I mean, This would be the vibrational sludge that we still have in us. I don't care how vibrational you are. I don't care how much shadow work you've done. You will never be done. You will always find more. But the emotional baggage, the trauma that we bury within ourselves on an astrological perspective in that 12th house, grief, sorrow, shame, blame, skeletons in the closet. This is part, the food. The food is part of it. Making sure that we are eating and having enough hydration and enough water, but also eating food that provides electrolytes and creates true hydration and water. We need to be lighter bodies, not dense, heavier bodies. And then the emotional baggage that we hold on to takes this glorious vessel and makes it become this vessel. I've been taking care of mom really, really hard for like 8 years, 7, 8 years. And last week I had to ask for help because financially I was in a bind. I wouldn't have been in the bind if the hiccup didn't happen, which, if you watch the astrology this week, the Breaking the Cage, which will be on tonight, Saturday night, live at 10 on the Matrix Minds, I'm going to get into a lot more of why the funk is coming in, because we are definitely in like a pressure blender energy, and it's purging energy, and it's truly getting us back to inner emotional security and inner peace, and where we're having troubles finding it, creating it, locating it, being it. And a lot of it has to do with this emotional sludge that we don't know how to get rid of because we don't face it. And this is getting raw. And what we really have to do is lose ourselves in it enough to where it doesn't hurt anymore. Hollow bone, which I'll get into in a minute. I bought a new car because I originally wrecked my old car about 3, 4 weeks ago. So waited for the insurance money to come in. Took the rest of my money at the time, other than leaving myself money for food for the week and groceries and to pick up some medicine for mom, and went and got the new car. I got home with a new used car. The car is now running. It's all been taken care of. And I want to say thank you to the community and any and everyone who was of help. Even if you were just wishing me well versus those who really went above and beyond. And thank you, because I am so blessed to have good people in my life. And I thank you. Because, like I said, it's hard for Leos. We don't come off of it. We don't like to ask for help. I got home with the car. I was home with the car about 3 hours when it wouldn't start. And I was like, how am I going to get to work? How am I going to? I don't have the money to get the new part. I used all the money. How am I going to get the food this week or get mom's medicine? And I was just pushed after 7 years to the freaking edge. To where I was like, that's it. I can't do it anymore. And like I said, I'm not blaming mom. But you guys have to understand, I hear all the time how taking care of mom is a blessing, and it is. It's also a fucking curse. And it's also like being in a dysfunctional, abusive relationship. It's that curse and that blessing at the same time. Where we've been in and out of the hospital so many times. And I worry all the time about her because she's my mom. I love her. I'm in that three-dimensional idea. And I know in a higher perspective to get out of this that all it does is bring me down and bring more pain. And then it brings into the sludge. See, because she's 2 years ago, she was in and out of the hospital for like 3 weeks straight. Not 3 weeks, no, like 3 months straight. Like every 2 weeks, back in the hospital, back in the hospital, back in the hospital. They could figure out what was wrong with her. And then the dementia, she can't remember anything. And she literally is like a 3-year old. And I love her to death. But at the same time, you try putting on a diaper or a pull up on a child who's 80-year-old. You try understanding why they can't understand why they have poop on their butt and then they're not cleaning well. You deal with, and I'm not being mean, I'm giving you where I'm really getting at, where, when everything's put away in the wrong places, and you're like, it's like a 3-year-old, you're like, what in the world happened here? Because they got a hold of something, like drinks in the cupboards. And being the only one that's responsible and handling it all and taking it on and taking it on and taking it on and in and out of the hospital and in and out of this and having to repeat yourself like 70 times. Living with yourself, with the shame that you have that's causing funk like this, that gets into residual DNA connecting and eating away at your fat, emotional, emotional energy. Residual emotional leftover, uncleansed, unhealed in the organs, according to the chakras of what is going on and where it attaches, is so much more hard to heal and cleanse than just the food. And I'm going there because I'm taking my time getting there because I don't like what I'm about to say. But I've actually been the person that's so screwed up, so traumatized in and out of the hospital. And it's like for the last 5 years, every single day, you're looking at her and she's sleeping, and I'm just looking to see, do I see the belly going up and down? Is she still breathing? Is today the last day that she's going to live? Yet emotionally enough to be, I remember being so traumatized that I've actually said to her before, you won't die. I don't want her to die. But that's shame for even feeling that way. This is what I'm talking about. We were not created for this trauma. We were not created to be pushed to such a breaking point that we don't even mean to be mean, but it's like I even go to counseling. I go to counseling so that I can let this stuff out to my counselor so that when I have my clients come to me, I am in the right frame of mind of being able to help them. I go back to my counselor at the same time, my therapist, my shaman, and I go back to them just for them to remind me, no, you're doing the right thing. You're just overwhelmed. You've been taking on so much for so long. She won't let me sleep. I work overnight. The only time I can get a job part time is overnight because I have to be able to be here to take care of her because we don't get any assistance. So I have to be able to go to work overnight and I'm here. If she needs me, she can wake me up. But then she just wants to spend time with me. And I love her and I want to spend time with her. But also when you don't get any sleep and you're mentally pushed and pushed and pushed, eventually you're like a lion in a cage. You're ready to attack back. And then you have to deal with who you are. I don't ever want her to die, But I won't deny I want my trauma to end. The overwhelming exhaustion. But I don't want her to die either. But I know she'll never get better. And I'm coming out with stuff like this because not that I want you to feel sorry for me or that I even care what you think, but the point is for those who get it, who get the vibrational sludge. This is about accepting, guess what? You're human. You've been pushed too hard. It's okay not to say these terrible things like why won't you die? I mean, last week when I'm saying thank you to everyone who came and helped me, I mean, who called or helped me or who even gave me money. I have such great people and I thank you. But I mean, I was so pushed to the edge and 32 times in, it's like, why are you upset? Why are you upset? Why every 3 seconds? Because you don't remember. Like I said, I'm not blaming her. It's just an illness. It takes a shit ton of love to be a caregiver. But you also need to know, in order to create your inner peace, you need to know your true level of violence, your true level of that's fucking it, and what you could be capable of. Because I remember telling her, Mama, because I just couldn't repeat again. I just bought a new car or a new used car and the battery is dead and I don't know how I'm going to do or get us food or take care of this or take care of that. And every few seconds, it's, why are you so upset? To where I'm like, Mama, I need you to please go to your room and let me be for your own safety. Because you push that bear too many times, the claws are going to come out. And I'm trying to control my energy. I'm trying to control my emotions. I'm trying to be responsible, but I'm also not going to deny that I've been pushed so hard. 7 years of this, 8 years of this. And I don't want pity. I'm saying it because there are other people out there who don't understand. This is the traumatic sludge of what I'm talking about. We get in, these things get into our chakras, this energy, this residual energy that you still hold on to that you don't want to talk about, that you feel shame for yourself because it scares you, because you feel bad, because you don't want to believe that about yourself. But that is all part of finding inner peace, of accepting, getting into that consciousness and going, well, that didn't really play out too freaking well now, did it? But I still love you. You've got to get to that level of acceptance and self-love and honoring thyself by not denying the sludge. You can't get back to this when you're riddled in this shit. And the emotional crud that's holding on to the organs, messing with the chakras, messing with your mind, still in belief systems that are not good for you. Being so boldly honest with yourself that you allow yourself the pain until you aren't in pain anymore. And that's the hollow bone. But the hollow bone is tricky as fuck. And I'm saying it's tricky as fuck because it's hollow, not numb. Numb is don't feel anything anymore. Numb is shut off and don't care and starting to become mean and go down that road of violence. and allowing it to be me and only me and fuck everybody else. No. Hollow is consciousness. It is observing and allowing any and everything to flow through, but not attaching and personally connecting to it, observing, acknowledging, and loving no matter what it is. Part of my lesson is to get over that by saying these things. But other people need to hear that even though it's not okay, it's okay. It's okay to feel that way about yourself. It's okay to have been pushed into that corner. It's okay to have been on that three-dimensional hive mind idea. We're learning to break away from that. And the only way we're going to break away is to get this fucking raw, this fucking real, and allow yourself the forgiveness and love that even God or the consciousness has. It's the hollow bone, not a numb bone. And we're going to be seeing a lot of just how truly are you connected to your inner emotional security over the next 6 months. And if we can't do this, we can't heal these residual things that we've been holding on to that we don't like about ourselves. We can't release the weight. Well, then you're not going to vibrationally upgrade. No matter how much water, electrolytes you put in your body for cell division. We're trying to go from sludge back to this. And it's not just food. It's about getting rid of the emotional weight by loving ourselves. And that means we have to get deep enough to get into what we're afraid of ourselves. A lot of this has to do with Pluto also going into Aquarius after this retrograde is over next year. And when we start to truly step into freedom and the world we're trying to create, if we haven't healed this, then we're still going to have a world of this, not a world of this. I love you guys. Bye.